Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the MLG Finals group draw. Benson joined by Max, and of course we have TP on Skype to give us his expert analysis on the squads as they get drawn into their respective groups. We're going to start our group draw with the Tier 2 teams, and as we said kind of before that commercial break, these Tier 2 teams, very, very good quality squads that we have in there. Of course, you've got Team Envious, Team Caliber, Optic Nation, Epsilon.NA. Max, in your honest opinion, strongest team in this group, who does Optic Gaming not want in Pool A?
I mean, honestly, I'm going to go with Epsilon North America.
Really?
After coming off that impressive Season 3 playoffs performance, you know, you look at the other teams in that group, Team Envy, they make a roster change. TK up and down all season long.
Makes sense.
Optic Nation also, like, best placing third at Gfinity Summer. Right. You know, I'm not really expecting much out of those teams if they go into Optic Nation's pool, or phases even. If Epsilon get drawn into Group A against Optic Nation, Optic Gaming, excuse me, you're looking at a 1-2 finish in my opinion.
Teep, if you're any of those players on Optic Gaming right now, you're a starter for OG. Who do you want to avoid? Any specific team from Tier 2?
If I was on OG, I wouldn't be scared at all, to be quite honest. I think OG and FaZe are by far the best two teams right now.
Okay.
And they only got more ahead with all the roster changes that happened. After being on like a top team for so long, you love roster changes, right? Like you see all these teams switching stuff up. There's no individual player that can join one of these lesser teams and really scare you in a sense. So I think OG, I mean, obviously you don't want Envy or Epsilon, right? You kind of want the easiest group possible, I guess. But if I had to choose, you know, you don't want Envy in your group, you don't want Epsilon in your group. But I don't think these sort of close finishes we saw in S3 are really going to affect OG or FaZe as much, especially with the roster changes that went down.
All right, well, that's some good analysis from TP. Thanks, Max, for sharing your thoughts. It's time to officially start the draft. Massive thank you as well to Mari, who's taken some time off today to be our official group drawer. Without further ado, let's see the first team being drawn into Group A. The suspense is killing. And the first team officially going to go into Group A is going to be Team Caliber. That is Team Caliber. They will be drawn into Group A. And that brings back a lot of memories to me, Teep. I'm not sure about you, but OG versus TK, the start of the year, it was insane. We saw some Game 5, some rounds 11. It was awesome. If you're TK, though, right now, Teep, what do you have to do to try and beat Optic Gaming?
Honestly, I think the acquisition of Apathy onto TK is going to help against OG. Apathy always seems that type of guy that sort of is like a top team killer, right? It kind of depends on which Apathy you get on an event-to-event basis. If he's playing like Apathy, playing super aggressive with, you know, those 1.2 KDs, sort of a person that can match Scump a little bit, the constant for OG, I think they have somewhat of a chance. But honestly, Respawns, I just don't think they're going to be able to handle OG's pressure and overall slaying dominance. You have to win some searches and maybe steal an uplink. If TK is going to win a series versus OG, it's going to be 3-2, and it's going to be extremely close.
Awesome. Well, that's the first team from Tier 2. Let's find out now who the second team from Tier 2 will be to go into Team FaZe's Group B. Over to you, Mark. And the second team is going to be Optic Nation, drawn into Group B. Max, I mean, how does that phase? Oh, so phase. I was gonna say phase.
How does that phase?
See what I did there?
I mean, right now, if you're OG and FaZe, you got to feel blessed. You got two of the easiest teams from Tier 2 into your respective groups. Obviously, Optic Nation picked up Nameless after releasing Mochilla from Season 3 playoffs. So you have that friendship there. You have Mir, Mo, and Embos and Nameless. So, I mean, it'll be tough going up against FaZe. Like, they don't have a Bao that can combat Claystar. They don't have an aggressive sub that can really take Zuma on, like one-on-one. For me, I got to be really upset if I'm Optic Nation.
Okay, well, that means, of course, with Denial and Elevate still in Group C and Group D, Team Envious and Epsilon still to be drawn from Tier 2. Teep, who do you want to avoid out of Envy and Epsilon? Which is the more dominant squad, would you say, right now?
I think overall the more dominant roster is Envy. I think the individual talent on Envy is a little bit better, but Epsilon just finds ways to get some wins on the board, especially with 3 of the 4 TR players on that team. They get those results every single time. You can't doubt them at this point. The TR players have done work this whole year when people didn't really expect them to. And then, especially with Parasite sort of leading the way, if they can tolerate him and all sort of work together and find some sort of cohesion for this last AW event, they could definitely make some noise. But I do think that the Envy roster puts a lot of pressure on with Jerd. Jerd's like one of the most talented subs in the game. I feel like it's going to be up to Goonjar on that Envy roster to sort of see if he can still compete with those top tier battles.
Okay, well, with 2 teams left in Tier 2, we'll go back over to Mari to draw our 3rd squad from Tier 2. And that is going to be Epsilon Esports, drawn into Group C. Max, I mean, how does that fare now?
I mean, if you're a team in Tier 3 or Tier 4, you're kind of avoiding Group C right now, too.
Yep.
Denial and Epsilon is going to be a heated matchup in group play for sure. Obviously, I think, TP saying Envy looks like a little bit of a stronger squad. Me,
right.
Epsilon, I'm going to take them. I think Parasite brings a great, veteran leadership to this team. And those 3 players obviously finished second at Contra.
And of course, that means as well, going into Group D will be Team Envious. Mari, we'll kind of go back to you just so you can open up that final capsule. Just let us know that it is, in fact, Team Envious inside. It should be, unless someone messed this up.
Yeah.
I did it, so I would be the one that messed it up. But yep, there it is. Hey. It is, in fact, Team Envious. So again, we'll go back to that graphic, just update you guys on how the groups are panning out. So Group A, Optic Gaming, Team Caliber. Group B, Team FaZe, Optic Nation. Group C, Denial and Epsilon Esports. Group D, Elevate, Team Envious. Teep, gotta ask you, I know it's early, we only have Tier 2 and Tier 1 teams drafted into their groups, but so far, which looks like the more dangerous group? If you're one of the remaining squads, one of the remaining 8, which group are you trying to avoid right now?
They're all pretty scary, to be honest. But honestly, if you're in a Tier 3 team right now, you kind of want to get into A or B, in my opinion. I think some of those Tier 3 teams can take a win on a team like TK or ON and play for sort of second in the group. That's not sort of the confidence you want going into a group play system.
Yep.
But you look at Group C and D, and those are, it looks like those ones are going to be the ones that are the groups of death, if you want to call it that, right? Denial, Epsilon in one group, Elevate, Envy in the other. As a Tier 3 team, can you beat those 2 teams? That's going to be tough.
Yeah, definitely going to be a bit of a challenge. Max, your kind of thoughts so far? Which group would you try and avoid?
I mean, I think C. I think that's going to be really your hardest group if you get drafted right into there. Like Teep said, really good point. If you get drafted into Group A or Group B, Nation and TK are the weaker of the 2 teams that got drafted from the Tier 2 category.
Very true.
So, I mean, if you're a team like Rise, I mean, I think you want to be drafted into Group A. One, we get that Pat versus Optic Nation game.
Love it.
Optic Gaming game, excuse me. And then you get, obviously...
Or even FaZe versus Pat as well. That also has some storylines behind that one as well. But, of course, that's going to be our Tier 2 teams for now. We're going to go to a quick commercial break. When we return, we'll be drafting our Tier 3 squads as well. Be right back.